the inclusion of a monster is going to automatically send the human who's involved in this romance on a different kind of journey than if they'd picked another human to fall in love with.
We're Heather and Natalie, the Romance Rippers, romance addicts and authors. We're here to help you craft stories that leave your readers begging for more. This is the time to get that story out of your head and give book lovers the emotionally satisfying ships they crave. Now let's get to the heart of romance. Letty's judging us for interrupting her nap time.
You can nap in another room.
Hi guys, it's Heather.
And Natalie.
We're the Romance Rippers.
Welcome back.
Monster romances are a rapidly growing subgenre of romance stories. They're usually characterized by human with a sentient, non-human, though often humanoid, love interest. So vampires, werewolves, aliens, gargoyles, selkies, angels, demons, the like. A lot of them have come into, I would say, a really big forefront within the romance community.
Yeah, for many of us who enjoy such pairings, it feels instinctual to read these books. But when we take a closer look, there are actually several reasons, including unconventional love, elevated emotional intensity, rooting for the misfit, the fantastical, complex and dark themes, and character transformation to explain why we're naturally drawn to these stories.
So I would say definitely for me as a reader, it's definitely the instinctual to a lot of those things that is like, ooh, how is this couple going to circumvent a lot of these really big disparities with their lives, the taboos that they're surrounded with, and it gets really juicy and interesting
because the monstrous form that these whatever the non-human is kind of a gateway to a literary shortcut to these things. And it's interesting to explore, like, what do we really like about them.
Definitely one of the biggest I would say draws of monster romances is unconventional love. You know, monster romances, they often defy a lot of boundaries of who is conventionally normal or attractive. We enjoy exploring things outside of societal norms, the taboo, and this space is a really safe place to play in that. And it's often a different take on the Romeo and Juliet archetypes or the good girl, bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks trope.
I think unconventional love is one of the biggest draws, just because we're curious and we want to know, like, about people that are different from us. And while these monsters may not be human, they are people with sentience and soul, and they're so different from us. And we're drawn to polarity. We're drawn to differences because we recognize that through differences we can become better, fuller versions of ourselves.
Really interesting to me, both as a reader and a writer, because you often find yourself projecting not just onto the often main female love interest, which is usually human in these. You also project yourself onto the monstrous, usually masculine characters as well, in feeling like an outsider. Like, who hasn't felt like they were the weird one in the room? And you get to play with both of them and get to see them reflect their differences, and then also that internalized love, because it's not just, I feel like, the experience of them falling in love with each other, it's them falling in love with themselves as well.
That also, when we're dealing with, like, feeling like a misfit, we enter a space of identities and belonging, which when you put that on, you know, we want to belong, we want to, and part of what romance is belonging to another person. Like, you know that no matter what else goes on in your life, you've got this other person.
You have each other.
And so when you heighten that on with misfits and identity, the romance primary romance question of will true love prevail becomes something that we're almost desperately invested in. Like there's a level of at least I feel like an additional level of desperation.
That makes sense. Because I'm like thinking about like, watching Beauty and the Beast. Like any one of the many adaptations, and it has that desperateness of how is this going to work out.
Right.
Like that also dovetails into another key part, I feel like, of monster romance, which is the elevated emotional intensity. Because you're bringing in taboo love. Every emotion feels more intense, more heightened. The stakes feel higher, pretty much automatically.
Yeah.
The unexpected feelings that the characters start to develop for each other gets really tasty.
Because there are so many differences, like in their bodies. The fear that it's not going to work out feels more heightened because, like, what are you supposed to do if you're a completely different species? Then
they might think very differently.
You might think very differently. Yeah, if there are biological differences, social and cultural differences.
You definitely get that with like werewolf romances, vampire romances. I feel like that's also a really big draw of, oh, you're entering into this new world that feels unfamiliar and a bit scary, but also is often sensual.
Yeah, it's a
or titillating.
Yeah, titillating. That's the word that came to mind for me, because we want to know what else is out there, and we get bored with what we grew up with, and sometimes we just want something really different. But because the differences are so extreme with monster romances, and everything is just bigger. The gulf between the two is so much bigger. Everything feels more intense, and so even like lighthearted, quote unquote, low stakes between a human and a monster is still going to feel more intense than just a human and human.
Yeah.
Or a monster and monster, at least of the same species. Another reason we love monster romances is because the fantastical is there. Even if the story setting is in our world, quote unquote, there's still a level that's not our world, because you got a werewolf or a gargoyle or a fairy or whatever in here, and so that automatically changes the rules of the world.
Yeah, because even like within, I would say, like modern paranormal romance, it's often even like displayed as its own like separate world in a way that runs linearly to the modern known regular human world. And then
that's certainly how it is, like in the paranormal romance stories I write, is it's a parallel world. There's another culture, there's another thing that the humans don't see. They don't. Another dimension, whether that's actually another physical dimension, or just something that's underground.
And I think also it's very interesting because if you don't really like the flavor of modern paranormal romance, you can always go full fantasy setting. And sometimes I have seen some people do that with more a modern, conventional modern day people of cars and all that, but all of these different species, be they paranormal or mythological, they are living amongst humans and it's known. But you can also have you live more in a fairy tale land or a demon realm. Yeah. And it gets really fun.
Yeah, because, the sky's the limit. If you can imagine it, you can do it.
It just has, I feel like, just a fun, charming element when you get to play that deeply. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that serious. Like, you can have really heartfelt themes, because often you're like playing around with humanity versus monstrousness, identity. But then you have like this potentially really fantastical world that you're also in.
The whimsy. There can be a strong whimsy to it as well, depending on how you do it. But especially in romance, the more lighthearted is welcome and to some extent expected, because, we're talking about love here. The whimsy that can be brought in through the gateway that is having a monster involved in the romance.
I feel like that whimsy is part of the reason why I've really liked a lot of monster romances that lean into the rom-com. Because I feel like those have really kept the heart of what the rom-com I grew up with in the 90s, early 2000s. It still has the whimsy. Another thing people really enjoy with monster romance is deeper complexity and themes of transformation. So, in addition to having, the monster in the romance, you're often using it, a lot of the themes, as a metaphorical vehicle to delve into more complex and often they can be dark themes, different characters, and their journey of transformation.
The human's involvement with the monster in this relationship automatically opens them up to a different kind of journey towards change than they would have had if they'd chosen to be with a human. And this helps them expand into new possibilities and worldviews they just would not have seen. Like if you're living in the human world and you encounter a creature you didn't even know existed and you fall in love,
or supposed to be
supposed to be horrific that you think is going to kill you, like the thing that goes bump in the night, it's going to send you're going to have a drastically different life than you would have otherwise, and that's going to send you into become a different kind of person.
The monster often also is going through their own journey, usually learning to see themselves as something more than the other, thanks to like the human, and how the human will see different parts of them than potentially has been presented in society, or even potentially say a weakness for in vampire society is seen as lovely in human society. So there's this level of acceptance, and also getting to see yourself through someone else's eyes, and it's often more complimentary than we see ourselves.
We see the beauty of the other.
Yes.
And we enjoy those things about them. In monster romance, just like the nature of it being when you're going to do something a little unconventional, which is reading about a monster, a non-human with a human, especially if they're more explicit in nature, like if the story is more explicit in nature and the author is very upfront about that, what you're getting into. In addition to more explicit human and non-human scenes, you're probably also going to get darker themes as a whole. Like you might have more violence in the story, you might have more disturbing content, like culturally, society, even amongst the couple themselves, that is just not going to be accepted in a conventional love story. And you also can trust, like as an author, if you are going to write a monster romance, that if your audience, especially being upfront, but if your audience knows, okay, I'm gonna be reading about these things, like a non-human and a human, that you have more freedom to play with what you're going to do anyway, because that audience is on board for a little bit of the weird,
or a lot of weird. Like, let's be honest, readers are often craving some of those more complex storylines, the depth of character that gets often pulled into monster romances, which just makes them a compelling read.
We like a little bit more bite in our monster romances. It's a good place to have that bite, to explore those things, and readers crave it. Authors love writing it. So this month we are going to be releasing 2 more episodes about monster romances.
First, we're going to be releasing a video focusing on monstrous men. What are different elements of monster men in particular that really draw in readers and also writers for what makes them really juicy to write? Why do we have like this long history of monstrous men?
Yeah, and why are women attracted to monstrous men? Like men who are not just,
A little brutish.
A little more than a little brutish.
Yeah.
They're different species. The other episode that we're going to be doing is exploring monstrous women and why, like, what monstrous women can represent in fiction, why monstrous women aren't as represented as men in fiction, and why monstrous women are often cast as villainesses rather than protagonists. So it's gonna be a fun October. We're really excited about it. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We can't wait to see you soon. Before we go, we would love you to leave a comment below letting us know what is your favorite type of monster to have a romance with, either to read or to write.
Absolutely. Because I feel like we all have the ones we always go back to.
What
our tried and true.
Our favorites. Yeah. Mine is werewolves.
Werewolves are, I feel like, my top as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty common one.
It's a pretty common one.
And there's so many different ways to write them.
Yes. And I feel like, Beauty and the Beast, I've loved that Disney movie since I was itty bitty. Yeah. Werewolves, it makes sense.
Yeah, he's pretty werewolfish.
He's pretty werewolfish.
He just doesn't shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks like one though.
It's been so fun chatting with you guys, talking about monster romance. It's a fun time of year. I feel like for this, the spooky season is upon us.
The spooky season plus romance stories, it's my favorite.
Absolutely.
Like, doesn't really get any better than this.
It really doesn't. We look forward to seeing you guys again soon, and hope you have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us today. Like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more romance writing tips and tea on Thursdays. You can also find us on other socials at The Romance Rippers. And before you go, share one of your tried and true romance writing tips below. We'll see you soon.